Hello and welcome to this session about industry essentials. We shall be peeping into the different process, terminologies, and basic requirements to run the pharmaceutical business. Okay. So let's see what this program would include. Yes, we shall start with product life cycle, which would help you to know the high-level process of pharmaceutical business. Then we shall be talking about basic regulatory requirements, followed by technical terminologies and their definitions and usage. At the end, we shall see manufacturing, testing, holding, and packaging processes. Before going to the subject, let me tell you about myself. I am Ankit Jain. Learnt different processes across different domains of pharmaceutical industry in 19 years of my journey and still studying the business. I hails from Gursarai, which is a town in district Jhansi of Uttar Pradesh. I earned pharmacy degree from IPS Academy, Indore. Worked with Plethico, Cipla, Ranbaxy, NNE Pharmaplan, Strides, Glenmark, where I got opportunity to study, establish, enhance, and maintain processes like in-process quality assurance, quality management systems, batch release, process validation, qualification, product development, computer system validation. At present, heading quality assurance function at Arcolab Private Limited, which is a Strides enterprise in the capacity of associate director. Alright, let's see product life cycle. To identify which product is needed in the market research is required. Where the data is studied, market dynamics is watched, and then products which could fulfill the need of the market are identified. After getting the products which are needed for market, organization would see the capabilities which of the products could be developed and manufactured based on their existing capabilities or possibilities of capability enhancement to accommodate the respective products. After identifying the product, its development is started. Development could be synthesis of API or formulated product. The development for testing methods is also completed during this stage. Documentation compiled as per the regulatory requirements. Vendor development, selection, critical quality attributes, critical process parameters, critical material parameters are also established during this phase. Exhibit batches are developed during this phase. After successful development of the product, samples are sent for clinical trials. There are different phases of clinical trials, starting from phase 1 to phase 4. In phase 1, testing is done on healthy individuals to see the safety, dosage, and side effects. While in phase 2, efficacy of the drug is determined on the affected subjects, individuals with disease. In phase 3, the monitoring is done for longer period on new and wider demographic. Here testing is done to see the long-term effectiveness and comparison with other medications. After this phase, product is applied for FDA approval. After getting the product approval, product enters in the market while monitoring is continued for safety and efficacy of the product. This is called phase 4. Product is scaled up to cater the market demand. Accordingly, manufacturing process is expanded. Then cycle of demand and supply is maintained. When the product usage is redundant or due to evolving safety concern, or any other business reason, the products may be discontinued. Very good. We now understood the overview of product life cycle. As we know that for any of the business process, there are certain regulations and regulatory agencies. So here we shall be going through basic regulatory requirements and different regulatory agencies of the countries. Okay, so first related to organization and personnel. Here, regulatory agency first ensures that the organization must have a quality unit which shall be responsible for testing, approval, and rejection of all the material and products. It is also ensured that the organization employs personnel with adequate education, experience, and training or combination of any two. It is also described that there shall be adequate number of qualified personnel. It is explicitly mentioned that personnel shall maintain good hygiene practices, avoid contamination, access shall be restricted to authorized personnel only. Personnel should also be free from any illness. Now coming towards building and facilities. It should be suitable for operation, cleaning, and maintenance, prevention of mix-up, contamination. System for adequate lighting, ventilation, plumbing, sewage and refuge, washing and toilet facilities, sanitation, and maintenance shall be ensured. Let's now see the requirements related to equipment. The basic requirement is equipment shall be suitable for cleaning, operation, and maintenance. Surface of the equipment shall not be reactive, additive, absorptive, or adsorptive. Equipment, instruments shall be adequately qualified, calibrated, inspected, and maintained. Fine, let's move ahead and check the requirements for control of components and drug product containers and closures. Procedures shall be available for handling it to avoid contamination of components, containers, and closures. Their receipt and storage shall be controlled. There shall be system established for testing, approval, and rejection. Alright. Now let's look what are regulations for production and process control. It includes that there shall be written procedure for production and process control, and any deviation from these procedures shall be recorded and justified. There shall be control over charging of components, such as identity of material, their quantity, order of mixing, and process parameters. Yield shall be monitored for each stage. Only authorized equipment are used for processing. Sampling and testing shall be established and controlled. Time limitation. Control over microbiological contamination. Reprocessing shall be recorded, and control shall be established to ensure that reprocessed batch meets all the specifications. I know, it is getting long, but trust, these are the basic and minimum regulatory requirements. Okay, let's see what comes next. It is packaging and labeling control. It includes material examination and usage criteria, labeling issuance, packaging and labeling operations, rules for tamper-evident packaging requirement for over-the-counter drug product. Drug product inspection and expiration dating. Next one is holding and distribution, where warehousing procedures shall be established and controlled. Quarantine and release of the drug product shall be controlled. Distribution shall be in such a manner that oldest approved stock is distributed to market first. Okay. We have learned about many regulations. We're going to now see laboratory controls. It is very essential to have controls over laboratory procedures. There shall be specifications, sampling plan, test procedures, and other laboratory mechanisms. These shall be scientifically sound. Calibration, qualification, maintenance of the instruments and apparatus being used shall be established. Samples shall be representative and appropriately identified. Determination to conformance with written procedures and specification. You know, most observations during regulatory inspections are now made in laboratory controls. Perfect. Let's now see what lined up for next. It is records and reports. Duration to keep the records is elaborated. For example, batch records should be kept for expiry plus 1 year of expiry date is not applicable then for 3 years. Requirement for maintaining the records for cleaning, operation, and maintenance of equipment. Records related to components, container and closure, which includes procurement, receipt, sampling, testing, and usage. Review of product complaints and investigation is also elaborated under this section. Requirements for BMR, BPR, laboratory records, distribution records, complaint and investigation files, etc. is elaborated. At the end, regulation for returned and salvaged drug products. It states about how to handle the returned product, when to destroy, when this could be used, how to handle documentation, etc. It also describes requirements about reprocessing. How to salvage the drug product when exposed to adverse storage condition, when to destroy and when to salvage. Well done. Now we will learn different regulatory agencies of the countries. For India, it is CDSCO, i.e. Center for Drug Standard Control Organization. FDA, Food and Drug Administration, is for United States of America. MHRA is the abbreviation for Medicines and Healthcare Product Regulatory Agency, IT for United Kingdom. Therapeutic Goods Agency, usually called as TGA for Australia. Health Canada, as name indicates, is for Canada. SAHPRA, i.e. South African Health Products Regulatory Agency. ANVISA stands for Agência Nacional de Vigilância Sanitária, works for Brazil. WHO, World Health Organization, is the global agency, and many of the countries participates in accelerated registration of pre-qualified finished pharmaceutical products. That's great. We have now acquainted with basic regulatory requirements and major regulatory agencies. Now we shall be getting familiar with some of the technical terms. Quality control, often called QC, this is a function which is responsible for testing in line with approved test procedure and provides results against the specification. It may sometimes perform sampling. Quality assurance, or QA, is the function responsible for approval and rejection of the raw material, in-process materials, container enclosures, and drug products. Quality assurance is also responsible to monitor the production and process control, line clearance, investigation, sampling, and reserve sample management. Okay. Next comes in the list change management. Any addition, modification, and deletion is called change. Just remember, when the changes in the processes have certain workflow, then change is managed through that process. For example, new batch is taken and that is driven through the batch manufacturing process, hence separate change management workflow for each batch is not required. Basic workflow for change management involves initiation, impact assessment, approval, implementation, closure, effectiveness check, and trending. Alright. Next is deviation management. While deviation must be avoided and always right first time is preferred, however, in case of observation of departure from standards may be observed. This is called deviation. Immediate actions or remediations are completed after observation of deviation. Impact of the deviation is identified and batch disposition is decided. Root cause investigation is required to identify the causal factors and determine appropriate corrective action. It is required in case of deviation, OOS, OOT, complaint, audit observations, etc. So, what is OOS and OOT? OOS stands for out of specification, which is reported when during analysis results are found outside the acceptance criteria or specification. There are different phases of investigation conducted, such as Phase 1 investigation, where obvious laboratory errors are determined if any. Phase 2 investigation involves investigation outside the laboratory, which includes manufacturing, material, sampling, or holding error. Investigation is carried out as described above. OOT is the short form for out of trend result. In such cases, although the results are within specification but not in trend, investigation methodology is same as of OOS. So how to stop such failures to happen? Yes. CAPA means corrective action and preventive action. Corrective actions are the actions which are taken to eliminate the root cause of detected nonconformity to avoid recurrence of the same. Please note, it is for detected nonconformity and to avoid recurrence. Preventive actions are the actions taken to eliminate the root cause of potential failure to avoid occurrence, means first-time occurrence of the same. Now understand the difference. CA is for detected while PA is for potential nonconformity. Vendor management system. Before procuring the material or engaging services, regulated companies has to qualify the vendor and establish agreements. They are also need to be periodically evaluated. For managing all these process, vendor management systems is established and maintained. Quality agreements. Quality agreements with the vendors are essential to define the responsibilities of each of the parties, scope of work, confidentiality of the data, and clauses to protect the business and quality interests. These agreements are time to time revisited and revised if required. Data integrity is an essential and critical subject and practice to be maintained by each of the person in the organization. Basically, data integrity is the assurance of the data for its reliability. You would be seeing different elements of the data integrity. These are called ALCOA+. Few of the obvious data integrity practices are as follow. Always mention the information in legible manner. Always sign on current date. Record the data, information contemporaneously, means as it happens. Do not make the entries illegible even when these are incorrect. When any incorrect entry is made, then it must be strike off with single line, leaving the original entry legible. Mention correct entry and sign next to the correct entry. Do mention the reason for mistake and correction when required. Always mention right data first time. Keep the original data. Most important, ask when you are in doubt and escalate when observed mistake. Next is internal audit. As name indicates, it is for auditing or inspecting own organization. Audit is conducted by the qualified auditors other than the respective function. Observations are confidential and usually not disclosed during audits. Cleaning validation. It is the documented evidence which assures that cleaning procedure is effective to clean the surface consistently to remove the residue of the product, microbial contamination, and detergent to acceptance level. It is essential to ensure that product is free from any cross-contamination. Complaints. Also called as product quality complaint, these are the expression of dissatisfaction from the consumer, may be reported orally or in written form. All the complaints are investigated to identify the root cause and determine COPPA to avoid recurrence of the failure. Product recall. It is a process of withdrawing the batches, product from market. Based on the criticality of the failure or defect, class of the recall is decided, where Class 1 recall is most urgent and serious, type where the product or batch is recalled from up to the consumer end. Class 2 recall is the withdrawal of batch or product from up to retailer level. Class 3 recall are unlikely to cause injury, illness but violates regulation. These are up to the wholesaler levels. FDA 483. You would hearing about it now and then when FDA inspects any facility. This is the form number 483, which is used to report the observation made by FDA investigator during facility inspection. Validation. It is the documented evidence to demonstrate the acceptance criteria or given specification are consistently met through the respective process, system or equipment. Batch record. This is the documentation where bill of material, instructions to manufacture a batch, record the process, and to calculate the yield is recorded. The batch records are controlled document. There used to be a master batch record and the same is used to be printed, issued for individual batch. SOP. Standard operating procedure are the set of instructions which are used to execute respective operation in harmonized and consistent manner. All the SOPs are managed through change management. GRN. Goods received note is for receiving the raw materials to the manufacturing plant. Raw materials. Raw material are divided in two categories, API and excipient. API, as you know, active pharmaceutical ingredient, and excipient are the inactive material which are required to formulate the dosage form. Line clearance. You would hear about the term line clearance in the manufacturing plants. This is a certification of the equipment and area after cleaning of the same by supervisor and QA as required. 21 CFR Part 11. It is the regulation for electronic records and electronic signature. Let's get some familiarity about computer system being used in pharmaceutical organizations. Laboratory Information Management System, for recording sampling and analysis in laboratory. Electronic Quality Management System, for managing changes, deviation, OOS or OOT, complaint, investigation, COPPA, etc. Enterprise Resource Planning, for managing materials, production planning, controlling the approval and rejection of material and product, plant management, etc. Learning Management System, as name indicates, it is for managing the training, where personnel are registered to receive the training on the respective procedures and skill sets in line with the roles and nature of assignments. Chromatography Data Management System. It is one of the critical system where the analysis is processed and results are computed by the software. In this, all the chromatographic data are analyzed and stored for ready reference in future. Document Management System. It is for document preparation, review, approval, distribution, retrieval, etc. Building Management System. This basically works on maintaining and monitoring temperature, relative humidity, differential pressure and other operating parameters of air handling units. Analytical Method Development. At the time of product development, test methods are also developed. Test methods, procedures would have been in monograph of pharmacopoeia, yet the methods have to be elaborated and documented in standard test procedure. Methods are validated where the linearity, accuracy, precision, specificity, detection limit, ruggedness, and robustness is established. After development of the method, these are transferred to laboratory. As part of the method transfer, method verification is established. R&D. Research and development is the generation point of active pharmaceutical ingredients, dosage form, formulation development, and test methods. High level of scientific techniques and resources are required in this domain. API. Active pharmaceutical ingredient is the substance which has pharmacological properties. It is responsible to cure, mitigate, or detect disease or its symptom. Dossier. Dossiers are the set of documentation required for filing to obtain product approval from regulatory agencies. To make it harmonized, ICH-CTD guidelines, that is International Council for Harmonization, common technical document, describes the contents, template, and structure. This helps for the organizations as well as regulators to compile and review the documentation being submitted for approval. Adverse event. When the user experiences any side effect during usage of the drug product, it is reported to pharmacovigilance function. You would find email or toll-free number to report the complaint and adverse event.
Let's have a tour of a typical pharmaceutical product manufacturing plant in next slide.
Let's have a look on manufacturing, testing, holding, and packaging process. It starts from vendor selection. Materials are procured from the approved vendor for production forecast. The materials are received at warehouse where it is verified for its identity, intactness, quantity, and storage conditions. Material is sampled for testing. It is tested and based on the results the same as rejected or approved. Approved materials are dispensed following FIFO or FEFO, first in first out or first expiry first out. Dispensed material is manufactured. Then blended, mixed. Lubrication is called addition of lubricants such as magnesium stearate or talc and then blended. Such blend is then compressed or filled in capsule. Coating is done to mask the taste, to enhance the stability, or to control release of the medication. This is called semi-finished goods, which is subject for sampling, testing. It may also be subject for inspection as applicable. Then it is packed in suitable packaging. Packaging is done to protect the drug product from contamination, to maintain its integrity, to provide identity, for easy counting or quantification, to make it transportable, to provide necessary information to user and more. Most complaints are received for packaging-related issues. After packaging, packed product is tested for acceptable quality level. It is sampled for testing. Upon getting affirmative results, it is released by QA and dispatched by warehouse. It passes through the distribution chain and reaches to patients. Hope we got some familiarity with the battlegrounds, different phases of product life cycle. And when you listen these terms again, hope you won't be anxious about them. You may write to A.K. Jane 412 @gmail.com if you have any question.